As regulars to the channel will know, I am a huge fan of the Fatal Frame series. So, the somewhat surprising announcement of a remake of the second game was exciting, mostly because it shows an interest from publisher Koei Tecmo to keep making more of these. And since I would like them to make more of these, I knew I had to pick up the remake. Now, to be clear, this is not the first time that Fatal Frame 2 has been remade. Project 02 Wii Edition does exist, which basically rebuilt the game using the over-the-shoulder perspective and motion-driven control scheme of Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. It only released in Japan and Europe, which is why everyone in the game is aggressively British.
We used to play here a lot, didn't we?
It's a weird curiosity that didn't really get a lot of attention, admittedly. Has a reference in Smash Bros. Though, which is weird. But anyway, someone at Tecmo thought it was worth trying to remake Fatal Frame 2 again, and now we have that second one, built for modern HD systems and clearly inspired by more recent developments in the current resurgence of horror. Also notably, it's the first Fatal Frame game to not be called Project Zero in Europe. That's right, we finally have a game that has the name Fatal Frame and a PEGI rating on the same cover. Honestly, it took them long enough to ditch that terrible name. First things first, this is an incredibly faithful remake for much of the runtime. You play as Mio Amakura, who gets lost in the woods with her twin sister Mayu, and eventually they find themselves trapped in a long abandoned village where ghosts roam the halls of the crumbling old buildings. Eventually, Mio finds a camera which she can use to fight off the ghosts, but then Mayu wanders off and Mio has to delve deeper into the village and its history to save her and find a way to escape. If you've played the original, you know how this story goes. It literally does not change. Beat for beat, this is the original PS2 game, even down to most of the dialogue, although they did change the opening line and that does bother me a little bit.
Didn't we always promise each other that we would be together forever?
This did initially raise questions with me about why they recorded all the voice acting again with a new cast, especially when the line delivery is so close to the original. It's not the only thing though. Most of the locations feature identical map layouts, with many locations being second nature to me as someone who has replayed the original a ridiculous number of times. It was intensely familiar throughout, right up until the point where it wasn't. So allow me to explain. I'm going to paint a picture for you about this, in fact. Mild spoilers for something that happens maybe a third of the way into the game. In the original game, at the Kurosawa house, the main house at the heart of the village, there is a room where an atrocity happened and many people died. When you enter, you see a vision of all their corpses surrounding a single laughing woman at the centre. During the cutscene, an additional ghost emerges from her, a gnarled skeletal creature with the most aggressively menacing aura in the game, known as the Kusabi. It immediately switches to gameplay, and you have to run away from it, as it will not take damage from the camera, but it will kill you in an instant. Fortunately, you just need to leave the room into the next stairwell and it will not pursue you any further. Job done. In the remake, the same scene plays out shot for shot, and you're once again approached by the Kusabi in the same way. And again, you have to run away because you can't fight it. But imagine my surprise and subsequent panic when I relied on my knowledge of the original game too much, ran into the next room and relaxed before realizing, wait, the spooky filter hasn't gone away and oh my god, it's still chasing me. I died, I had to redo it, and immediately learned that this remake has actual stealth mechanics, where your only option to get away from the Kusabi is to duck and hide in a cupboard, like a more modern stalker horror. I perhaps should have seen this coming, since the game does encourage you to hide from the angry mob ghosts out in the village shortly before this, but I did not put those pieces together. What's worse, the Kusabi will now just show up unannounced at various points, even in the village itself, and let me tell you, this was anxiety-inducing, in a good way, since this is a horror game, and keeping a familiar player like me on my toes was a genius move. I spent the rest of the game constantly worried it would show up again, and it knocked me completely out of my comfortable sense of familiarity, which is something they set up by keeping so faithful to the original elsewhere, so well done. I also appreciated some minor expansions to the environment. Two key moments of the game see you wandering out into farmlands that previously didn't exist. A destroyed house that mostly existed as set dressing is now an actual room, and one that's pretty good to hide in if necessary. The underground sections are much more sprawling, and the shrines feel bigger and more interesting to wander off and visit. We also get some more expansive side stories that delve deeper into the other villager stories, which is nice. And I guess it does explain the need to redo the voice acting, because this wasn't there before, or at least not to this extent. Naturally, gameplay also feels different due to the shift in perspective. Admittedly, the Wii remake did this first, but I haven't played that, so it's a new change to this game specifically for me. Interestingly though, much like the Wii version took direct inspiration from Mask of the Lunar Eclipse, the new remake also pulls a lot from it, most likely due to the recent remaster. We now have a doll collectible, only now in the form of twins that act as a puzzle as you attempt to find two connected by a red thread. The slow, ominous item grab animation is back, although most of the time it doesn't really add much. And the ghost list now uses the categorizations used by the remaster of 4, Wraiths, Spectres, and Revenants. It also, sadly, does maintain the jank that 4 and 5's motion-driven gameplay introduced, only now without any consideration for motion controls in the first place. This is exacerbated somewhat by all the ghosts being significantly more aggressive now, where getting anything other than fatal frames can result in you getting grabbed while your film slowly reloads. The camera viewfinder is tighter, the movement speed is slower, and generally everything about combat feels more difficult. You're even limited in how much film you can hold at any given time. At times this works, adding extra layers of tension to a game that's supposed to make you feel tense. At other times it adds a huge amount of unpleasant frustration, most notably when you're fighting multiple ghosts at once. There's a sequence involving child ghosts during the third act of the game that was more anger-inducing than challenging, and a boss fight during the climax becomes somewhat tedious when the main guy summons friends and likes to disappear into the rafters where you can't see him. There are upgrades that do mitigate some of the worst parts, especially the slow reloading and annoyingly small film limits, but some of these annoyances do persist. It's not bad per se, it's just a little clunkier than I have been used to with the series up to this point. They've clearly messed with the mechanics a little to make it tense, but at times it can feel a little bit overtuned. That said, overall I feel this remake is a worthy successor to the original. I'd have preferred a more straightforward remaster of the trilogy to introduce new players to the series, but if this is all we're going to get, I would still absolutely recommend this to new players. No pun intended, the spirit of the original is still here. The spooky vibes are perfect, and now you can drag your sister along like a ragdoll so she can't complain you're getting too far ahead of her. Apart from the one scripted bit where she does it anyway.
Mia, don't go too far.
Fatal Frame 2 is one of the greatest horror games ever made, and this remake is a solid way to experience it if you can't get your hands on the original. Thank you for watching, and if you're new to the channel, I hope you subscribe for more videos like this. I have talked about Fatal Frame before in a few videos you should be able to see on screen right now. If you'd like to support the channel, I have a Patreon where I post updates and other bits and pieces so you can see what's coming up next, and I help support more of this in the future.